Before the fire was warm, before the tables were heavy with borrowed abundance, there was a silence older than the continent itself. A silence carved by vanished winters, broken treaties, and spirits who never forgave the first harvest taken in their name. Tonight, we walk backward, through feast smoke, through hymns, through the polished lie, to hear what the land remembers when the stories fall quiet. Join the myth weaver where forgotten stories breathe again. You breathe in the edge of the New England evening, letting the cold settle gently along your skin. The year is 1621, but it doesn't feel like a date. It feels like a hush, like a pause in the throat of the world. You stand at the edge of the tree line, where the shadows of immense pines spill across the clearing like spilled ink, where the last amber light gets tangled in branches older than anyone alive. The forest around you is a presence, not scenery, a watcher, a witness. The Wampanoag people move through the clearing with practiced ease, their footsteps soft, their gestures efficient, their breaths rising in faint clouds. You watch as they gather the final ears of corn, each one a small sun cradled in calloused hands. You can smell the faint sweetness of the husks, the earthiness of the soil disturbed beneath their feet, the drifting smoke from a distant fire. A harvest ending, a season turning, and yet something in the air feels suspended. You notice their glances, quick, cautious, drifting like restless birds toward the newcomers, toward the strangers with stiff clothing and sharper weapons, the settlers, the English. You see a flash of metal catch the light, the curve of a musket resting against a pale shoulder, held too tightly to feel like peace, and you feel the forest stiffen around you, as if the trees themselves are holding their breath. The wind shifts. Dry leaves skitter across the ground like tiny bones. You follow their sound until it fades beneath the rhythmic thump of a wooden mortar pounding corn into meal, a sound steady and ancient, older than this meeting of worlds. You let yourself sink deeper into the scene, your breath blending with the cool air, your heartbeat matching the rhythm of the forest. You sense the unspoken tension, not loud, not violent, but quiet and coiled, like a rope pulled almost but not quite tight. Peace, perhaps, but a peace stretched thin, a peace that trembles if touched. Still, harvests don't wait for certainty, and rituals don't pause for fear. You move with them as they stack corn, lay out baskets woven tight and symmetrical, each pattern holding stories passed down through generations. Stories of good seasons and lean ones. Stories of land that gives and land that takes. Stories of friendship with the forest, not dominance over it. You kneel beside a field where the stalks sway in fading light, their dry whisper a language all their own. You touch the earth, cold, almost metallic with frost, and imagine the months before this moment. Imagine how, in the spring, these same fields breathe green. How hands work together, sowing seeds, tending rows, watching skies for rain and storms. Imagine the comfort of familiarity. How each sound, each scent, each shift in the wind carried meaning. And now, voices in another tongue break that familiar rhythm. Voices that sound angular, heavy, unfamiliar. The English stand at the edges of the clearing, their presence solid, their expressions a blend of gratitude, hunger, suspicion, and awe. They have survived a year no one truly expected them to survive. Half their number gone. Bodies lost to disease, to cold, to despair. Those who remain look thinner than the Wampanoag, more brittle, more ghost-like. And yet, they carry weapons. And the Wampanoag notice. You notice. A crow calls overhead, once, twice, and you feel a ripple through the clearing. A reminder that omens are everywhere if you listen long enough. A reminder that this land belongs to older stories than these newcomers can fathom. You watch as a Wampanoag elder steps forward, her movements slow and deliberate, her gaze calm but unyielding. She places a handful of corn on a woven mat, each kernel reflecting the dying sunlight like beads of gold. It is an offering of plenty, but beneath it you sense something deeper, a gesture of diplomacy, of survival, of choosing connection over conflict, even if the choice is uneasy. The English murmur to one another, shifting, adjusting, their breath fogging the air. Some smile awkwardly. Some grip their weapons a little tighter. You feel the weight of what is unsaid. So many words unshared because the languages don't quite meet. So many intentions blurred by fear, by hope, by necessity. You wander through the clearing as twilight deepens, your senses absorbing each small detail. The scent of pine resin heavy in the cooling air, the gentle thump of feet moving across packed earth, the soft crackle of a fire being coaxed to life, the distant splash of water against river stones. You feel the pulse of a world shifting, slowly, quietly, inevitably. Peace hangs here like a fragile lantern, held between two peoples who need each other, but do not fully trust each other. You watch as food is shared, corn handed across the invisible boundary between cultures. You see hands rise in gestures of welcome, but eyes remain cautious, scanning, weighing. Then, a sudden stillness, almost imperceptible, the kind of pause that makes the hair rise softly along your arms. One of the Englishmen adjusts his musket, not threateningly, not aggressively, just a small movement, but enough to catch every eye, enough to freeze the air for a heartbeat. And in that heartbeat, you feel the entire landscape tighten. The trees, the soil, the sky dimming from gold to bruised blue. The Wampanoag pause mid-step, watching, waiting, measuring future and fate in a single breath. But the moment passes, the musket settles, the sound of the mortar resumes, and peace, thin, trembling, continues. Yet the forest knows, the land always knows. You sense it in the wind that suddenly chills, in the way the last streak of sunlight fades too quickly behind the treetops, in the silence that settles like a warning beneath the ordinary sounds of evening. You drift with the night as it falls over the clearing, wrapping everything in soft indigo shadows. Dinner fires glow like quiet stars. Voices blend, uncertain, cautious, hopeful, as food is shared between people who desperately want this moment to mean something lasting, something healing. But you know, as the forest knows, that stories like this rarely end in harmony alone. This feast is a pause, a breath, a fragile bridge stretched across a widening divide. You stand at the forest's edge once more, letting the cold press gently against your skin. You watch the two groups around the fire, their laughter fragile, their expressions unsure, their futures already tangled in ways none of them can see. And you feel that presence again, the unspoken thing, the unfinished thing, lingering between the trees, a whisper of what's coming, a shadow beneath the harvest, a truth waiting in the roots, patient as winter. And as the last embers glow, you feel the forest lean closer, as if to murmur a secret you're not quite ready to hear. You feel winter arrive, not as a season, but as a slow tightening around your ribs. A hush, a breath held too long. The landscape stretches before you, pale and bare, the fields stripped down to their bones. Snow clings to the earth in thin, uneven veils, leaving patches of dark soil exposed like old scars. This land has known cultivation for centuries. Steady hands, steady seasons, steady stories. But now, something feels broken beneath the frost. You walk along the edge of what was once a thriving planting ground. You see the echoes of old order, the faint grid of cultivated rows, the ghost patterns of footpaths worn by generations, the charred rim of a village that once hummed with life. Smoke still rises from ruined hearths, coiling into the cold air with the stubbornness of memories that refuse to fade. There is a bitter edge to the scent, a reminder of what was taken, what was burned, what was left smoldering in the wake of conflict and disease and hunger. You pull your cloak tighter, though the cold is only half weather, half sorrow. Your steps crunch softly over frozen earth as you follow the traces of Wampanoag survivors returning to the land that once fed their families. They move quietly, their breath fogging the air in soft clouds, their hands carrying the tools of renewal and the weight of loss all at once. You notice the careful way they touch the soil, as if greeting an old friend who has been wounded. Their fingers press into the frost, their palms smoothing broken clods, their gestures gentle and deliberate, a way of saying, "We're still here." You kneel beside them, feeling the chill bite into your knees. The soil is colder than it should be, hard, unyielding, almost resentful. You try to crumble a handful between your fingers, but it resists, clinging together with the stubbornness of a land asked to endure too much, too soon. The survivors plant what little remains, kernels saved from last year's harvest, tubers wrapped in cloth through the darkest months, seeds traded, scavenged, protected like breath itself. Every seed is a memory, every furrow a promise. Yet the rhythm is different now. You can feel it. They feel it. The land itself feels it. Generations once knew its moods like a parent knows a child, its thirst, its tempers, its favored offerings. But conflict has shaken that bond. Illness has thinned the hands that tended these fields. Fire has erased the quiet balance that once tied every family, every season, every ritual to the soil. You hear their whispers, soft, almost melodic. Old prayers spoken in a language shaped by rivers and storms. Words meant to soothe the ground, to remind it of the stories that once flowed easily between human and earth. The prayers drift upward, curling into the crisp air like strands of forgotten songs. Some carry grief, some carry hope, but all carry a single plea: let us grow again. You feel the soil shift beneath your fingers as if listening, but its answer comes only as a faint murmur, a small tremor of uncertainty. Not refusal, not acceptance, just a fractured echo, like a once powerful voice trying to remember its strength. The settlers' presence lingers on the edges of the horizon, their fences creeping outward, their watchful eyes scanning the forest, their muskets gleaming like cold new stars. You sense how deeply the balance has changed. Land that was once shared in the rhythm of seasons now feels measured, divided, questioned. The Wampanoag move carefully, their every step carrying the knowledge that this land is no longer a certain refuge. Their villages, once bustling with smoke and laughter, now feel thinned, hollowed, rearranged by forces beyond nature. You pass the remnants of burned homes, char patterns etched across the ground like dark runes, scorched stones still faintly warm under the sun's weak winter glow. You imagine the stories those walls once held, children learning the first rituals of planting, elders whispering histories by firelight, families gathering through countless winters. The warmth that lived here now drifts as ash, mingling with snowflakes. Yet in the cold silence, life insists. You watch a single figure kneel beside a ruined hearth, brush away the blackened debris, and tuck a small bundle of seed beneath the frost. A gesture so small it could be missed, but you feel its weight, its defiance, its quiet power. The wind stirs, carrying the faintest scent of cedar, and with it, the soft pulse of memory. You sense that this land remembers every step taken upon it. It remembers the slow, deliberate tending. It remembers the songs. It remembers the fire. It remembers the footsteps of newcomers who do not yet know its language. You walk further, through fields that ripple beneath thin snow, each patch of earth holding its own story of survival. Some rows sprout tiny shoots already brave enough to break the cold. Others lie dormant, waiting for warmth that feels late, almost doubtful. You pause, listening to the faint sounds beneath the surface. The quiet crackle of roots shifting, the sigh of frozen water, the low hum of life gathering itself. You wonder what the land thinks of these new hands approaching it. Hands unfamiliar with its seasons. Hands eager, desperate, hopeful, fearful. Hands holding new seeds, new tools, new rhythms. You feel the tension, not loud, not hostile, but uneasy, as if the soil itself is deciding who it will still feed. A gust of wind sweeps through, sending a thin veil of snow dancing across the field. The world blurs softly, and for a moment you feel suspended between eras, between the fields as they were and the fields as they might become. You breathe in the cold, letting it fill you, slow and deep. You sense the survivors around you doing the same, their breaths rising like tiny prayers offered to a sky unsure how to answer. They plant because they must. They hope because they must. They whisper because silence feels too much like surrender. But beneath it all, beneath the frost, the ash, the trembling earth, you hear the fractured murmur again, the land's quiet voice, wounded but not silent, still speaking, still remembering, still deciding. And as you stand in the stillness, you feel winter close its hand around the horizon, gently but firmly, as if reminding you that healing comes slowly and not always completely. You watch the survivors press one final seed into the ground, their hands lingering, their breath steady. Above them, the smoke from their rebuilt hearths curls into the dimming sky, mixing with the scent of what was lost, what remains, and what might one day rise again. And beneath your feet, the earth murmurs once more, soft, broken, and unfinished, as if asking you to listen a little longer before the snow covers everything. You arrive at the shoreline in the soft hush of late afternoon, where the wind carries both salt and smoke, and the waves seem to murmur secrets only the old world and the new could understand. The beach stretches pale beneath your feet, sand cold with autumn's reach, while driftwood piles like bleached bones along the edge of the tide. The sea is restless here, never still, never silent, as if aware that history is shifting in its presence. You walk toward the makeshift gathering, letting the scent of roasted fowl guide you. It's a scent rich enough to warm the air around it, but sharp enough to remind you of hunger. A hunger shared by both peoples meeting here. You hear the crackle of fire, the snap of pine resin bursting in the flames, the muted hum of voices speaking in rhythms that do not match. The English stand stiffly at the edge of the clearing, their boots sunk slightly in damp sand. Their clothing is heavy, rough, smelling faintly of sweat and smoke. Their movements feel cautious, every gesture measured. Their eyes scan everything, the trees, the feast, the faces of the Wampanoag, as though expecting something to go wrong at any moment. The Wampanoag move with a quieter confidence, their steps attuned to the land beneath them. Their clothing blends with the browns and reds of the shoreline, their voices soft but steady. You can sense the history they carry, a history older than the tide itself, shaped by these coasts, these forests, these seasons. And yet, beneath their calm, you feel a guarded tension, like a bowstring drawn but not released. You stand between the two worlds, feeling the subtle pull from each side. The settlers' desperation, the Wampanoag's vigilance, the landscape's anxious hope that they might find some common rhythm. Food is laid out in careful abundance. Roasted fowl, steaming and golden, its skin crackling beneath the firelight. Eel and river fish wrapped in layers of herbs. Corn cooked in ways unfamiliar to English palates, fragrant and sweet. Bread that smells of wood smoke and damp earth. And yet, every shared bite feels like a question, a tentative offering, a small, fragile step across a widening gap. You kneel beside one of the fires, feeling its warmth on your face, listening to the subtle sounds of the feast. The scrape of wooden bowls, the soft clatter of clamshells, the rustle of clothes and cautious bodies settling onto cold ground. Wampanoag children laugh, their voices bright and unburdened by the weight hovering over the adults. Some settlers watch them with a mix of curiosity and something almost like longing. Others keep their hands near their weapons, their eyes tracking every movement behind them, as if peace itself might be a trick of the firelight. You feel the shoreline shift beneath your feet, the tide creeping closer, as though trying to join the gathering. A gull cries above, its voice raw and piercing, momentarily cutting through the fragile quiet. You sense the land holding its breath, unsure whether to celebrate or worry. One of the Wampanoag men offers a dish to an English settler, a gesture simple, almost ordinary, but you watch the settler hesitate. His fingers twitch near the handle of his musket. A heartbeat too long passes. Then he accepts. A tiny gesture, but you feel something soften in the air, like a thread loosening. Stories ripple through the gathering, shared in words, in gestures, in glances. Some settlers try to mimic the Wampanoag words, their tongues fumbling, their attempts earnest but clumsy. Laughter follows, warm in some throats, anxious in others. You feel the strangeness of it all, two worlds colliding and trying, awkwardly, to stitch themselves together over a meal. Not out of pure unity, but because winter is approaching and survival demands cooperation more than trust. Night slowly drapes itself across the shoreline. The fires become small suns flickering on the sand, their light painting warm halos around faces lined with worry and hope in equal measure. The feast continues for hours, stories exchanged, games played, food shared in gentle, hesitant waves. But beneath the warmth, beneath the laughter, beneath the firelight, you feel the undercurrent, a quiet unease. A knowledge that peace born of necessity is delicate, easily fractured, easily carried away with the next change of wind. On the second day, the shoreline grows colder, the sea more restless. The waves crash harder, as though impatient with the fragile harmony unfolding on the sand. The English seem more relaxed now, loosening their shoulders, letting their muskets rest out of immediate reach. But the Wampanoag remain watchful, eyes drifting toward the forest, ears tuned to the subtle messages carried on the wind. You feel their awareness, that survival depends not only on this moment of sharing, but on the memories of conflicts past and the inevitability of conflicts to come. On the third day, the fires burn lower, the food dwindles, and the air grows heavy with unspoken things. People laugh, but their eyes reveal exhaustion. People share, but their hands remain tense. Even the wind seems tired, its once sharp bite reduced to a sleepy murmur. You watch as the final platters are passed around, hunger replaced by a strange mix of fullness and apprehension. A feast that was meant to bind two worlds instead reveals how far apart they truly are. And when the last flame sputters, when the shoreline grows dark except for the moon brushing silver across the water, you sense the shift, the quiet return of reality, the truth settling back in like cold dew. The feast ends. People rise slowly, gathering belongings, casting final glances across a divide that food alone cannot bridge. You feel the unfinished thing settle in the sand. It lingers in the footprints left behind. It hums in the tide as it creeps forward. It hangs in the smoke drifting into the night sky. Something breathed here. Something hopeful. Something fragile. Something easily lost. And as you watch both peoples walk back toward their separate homes, you sense it breathing still, soft, unresolved, waiting for history to decide what it will become. The sea whispers behind you, pulling at the edge of your thoughts, as if reminding you that even peace has tides of its own. You enter the settlement at dawn, when the world is still half asleep, and the cold mist clings low to the earth like breath that refuses to rise. The first thing you hear is the steady, brutal rhythm of axes swinging, wood splitting, roots surrendering, ancient trees collapsing under the determination of hands still learning this continent's pulse. Each thud sends a tremor through your chest. Each echo drifts into the forest, where wounded silence settles between trunks that once stood untouched for centuries. The settlers build their world by subtraction, cutting down the old to make room for the new. You walk through narrow paths between stumps, feeling the ghosts of trees sway overhead, shadows that no longer exist, branches that have been traded for beams and fences and walls. The settlement smells of sap and sawdust, of damp bread baked too close to the fire, of salted meat hung in smokehouses that creak whenever wind drags its fingers across them. Everything here smells like work. Work that begins before the sun rises and continues long after it falls. Families mix exhaustion with routine, their movements slow, deliberate, their hands chapped from cold, their eyes rimmed with sleeplessness. They push through each day on the thin fuel of hope, fear, and necessity. But beneath it all, beneath the clatter of wooden buckets and the scrape of crude tools, you sense another hunger. One the salted pork cannot satisfy, one the bread cannot quiet. A hunger lodged deeper, in the place where worry curls and refuses to loosen its grip. You follow them as they gather for morning sermons, filing into a wooden meeting house that leans slightly to one side, as if tired from holding up so many unspoken burdens. Inside, the air is thick with breath and cold sweat, the shutters rattling softly with each gust of wind. The preacher's voice cuts through the stillness, loud at first, then rising, filling the room with verses that thunder more warning than warmth. He speaks of providence, of divine tests, of gratitude demanded even when the world feels like it is shrinking around them. He speaks of scarcity as discipline, of hardship as a necessary purification. You feel the weight of the words pressing against the listeners' chests. Families bow their heads because they are told to, not because comfort truly flows from the pulpit. Their prayers tremble, hollow in their throats, stretched thin between belief and fear. The children shift in their seats, shivering not from cold alone, but from the heavy silence that clings to every sermon. Some adults wipe their eyes quietly, their grief disguised as piety. Others clench their hands, knuckles pale, whispering amen through clenched teeth. You sense it clearly. The gratitude they are told to feel is not the gratitude their hearts offer. The words and the truth do not match. Outside, after the sermon, life resumes its rhythm. Smoke curls from chimneys. Water sloshes in wooden pails. Women knead dough with stiff fingers, the dough heavy and slow to rise in the cold. Men sharpen tools, a rasping sound that scrapes at your nerves in steady strokes. Gratitude lingers here, but it is thin, stretched across too many worries. The fear of another harsh winter, the memory of the first winter's graves, the uncertainty of how long peace will hold, the gnawing concern that the land itself does not fully welcome them. You pass a woman pulling stale bread from a clay oven, its crust uneven, its scent more sour than comforting. She breaks a piece off and chews slowly, as though the act itself is a prayer, as though swallowing is a commitment to survival. Nearby, a man hangs strips of salted meat, his motion stiff, a quiet groan escaping his throat as he lifts each slab. The salt stings the air, sharp enough to make your eyes water. You can almost taste the metallic tang on your tongue, as if the hunger beneath this place has its own flavor. Later, children gather scraps of food that fall during preparation, crumbs, burnt ends, bits of fat trimmed from the meat, and their laughter rises briefly before dissolving into the wind. Even joy feels careful here. You wander toward the edge of the settlement where the houses thin out and the forest begins. The boundary feels uneasy, as if each side watches the other with guarded breath. You feel the presence of Wampanoag hunters somewhere beyond the tree line, silent, watching, measuring, not hostile, but aware of how quickly balance can tip. Some settlers glance toward the forest while eating, their bites small, their gazes long, not from fear alone, but from a deeper realization that their survival rests on fragile cooperation. That peace, like food, must be tended or it spoils. Your steps carry you past a small household preparing a midday meal. A mother slices dried berries, their sweetness dulled by the cold. Her hands tremble slightly, not from weakness, but from the pressure to be grateful even when gratitude feels like a distant echo. Her child beside her whispers grace, a small voice weaving hope into a quiet room. You listen as villagers murmur among themselves about blessings, about scarcity, about providence, about unease. Their discussions circle, never landing, as if everyone is speaking near the truth, but no one is touching it directly. The truth that gratitude feels forced this year, that something beneath it grows hungrier each day. As evening settles, fires glow in each home, their warmth spilling onto packed earth. Shadows stretch long, reaching like fingers through windows and across walls. The families gather once more around simple meals, their faces illuminated by flickering gold. They bow their heads again, this time more slowly, more mechanically, their words drifting upward like thin smoke. Some manage soft smiles, others stare at their plates, their gratitude caught somewhere between throat and chest. You feel the weight pressing on all of them, the pressure to be thankful, even when their spirits are hollow, even when survival feels like balancing on the edge of something unseen. A distant howl echoes from the woods. A pot rattles in the wind. A candle flickers, almost going out before catching flame again. And in the quiet that follows, something deeper reveals itself. A hunger, not for food, but for certainty, for safety, for a future more solid than the fragile present. A hunger for home in a land that does not yet feel like one. You feel it rise around you, thin, persistent, unspoken. A hollow place inside every heart here, stretching towards something that remains just out of reach. Gratitude alone cannot fill it. And as the final fire of the night burns low, as the settlement dims into murmurs and shadows, you sense that hunger breathing beneath the quiet. Patient, unresolved, waiting for the next chapter of the story to unfold in its wake. You feel winter settle over the land, not as a season, but as a presence. A looming, relentless weight pressing softly on the roofs, the earth you're breathing. The cold arrives like a slow-moving storm of memory and silence, wrapping everything in a stillness thick enough to muffle thought. Even the trees stand differently now, stiff, brittle, bowing beneath the heavy white shroud covering their branches. You walk through the settlement as dusk begins its quiet descent. The air tastes metallic with frost. Your breath curls into pale ghosts that drift away before you can name them. Every house you pass seems smaller in the cold, huddled against the wind like frightened animals. Inside those homes, fires crackle with thin, desperate flames. There isn't enough wood. There isn't enough food. There isn't enough of anything. The long winter stretches on and on, a season too large for their fragile stores, too hungry for their thin walls, too unforgiving for their weakened bodies. Some say the winds slam against the wooden shutters, its howl long and mournful, a sound that feels almost human in its grief, almost intentional in its warning. Some say the wind carries voices. Some refuse to sleep when it rises. Some swear they hear footsteps where snow should swallow every sound. You pause outside one cabin, listening. The wind scratches at the shutters, a lonely, scraping gesture, as if something outside longs to be let in. The settlers tell stories now, quietly, by the dim glow of dying coals. Stories of spirits wandering the frozen woods. Spirits of the starved. Spirits of those who died last winter. Spirits of those whose graves lie shallow beneath the drifts, soil too frozen to hold them deeply. They tell of shapes seen between the trees, thin and swaying, as if caught between the world of breath and the world of memory. Shapes that move slowly, dragging hunger behind them like a broken shadow. You move through the dusk with cautious steps, the snow crunching softly beneath your feet. The forest looms ahead, its branches clattering together like distant bones. You feel eyes on you, not malicious, not welcoming, just watching. A faint trail appears in the snow, one that wasn't there before dusk. Too narrow for a deer, too uneven for a hunter. A dragging pattern, as though someone walked here without lifting their feet, weighed down by something unseen. You follow it for a few steps, but the wind sweeps over it with a sudden gust, erasing it cleanly, almost protectively. Behind you, a door creaks open. A settler, pale, hands trembling, peers out into the dark. His voice pitches low, barely more than a breath. You hear it too? You don't answer, because the wind does. A long, sorrowful moan winds through the trees, curling around the cabins, slipping beneath door frames, threading through every crack and corner. Inside, families cower closer to their fires. The smoke stings your eyes as you enter one of the cramped homes. A woman stirs a thin stew, water, root scraps, a bit of dried meat. The scent is faint, hardly enough to fill a room, let alone the hollow stomachs gathered around the pot. Her children sit silent, too tired to play, too cold to protest. Their cheeks flush red from the cold, and their small hands hover close to the embers as if praying for warmth. You sense it. the hunger that lives here. Not spoken, not shouted, but thick in every breath. It coils through their bodies like a quiet, gnawing serpent. Long winter hunger, the kind that makes spirits grow teeth. Later, when night presses fully into the settlement, you step outside once more. The moon hangs low and swollen, its light turning the snow into a pale, shimmering sea. Your footsteps leave crisp impressions, the only solid marks in a world made of silence and cold. Then, a sound, a soft, dragging shuffle. You turn. No one is there. Another step, another whisper of movement, as if someone is following but staying just beyond the edge of sight. The settlers say the spirits come in winter, not out of malice, but out of need. They wander toward light and warmth, drawn to the hearths where living breath still rises. Some believe they seek food. Others believe they seek company.
A few whisper they seek vengeance, for promises broken, for graves insufficient, for names forgotten. But no one opens their doors for them, not in a winter like this. You linger near the tree line, letting the cold numb your fingers. The moonlight shifts, and for a moment you think you see a figure, thin, hunched, swaying slightly, standing between the trunks, watching, waiting, silent.
And then it's gone, melted into the darkness so cleanly you wonder if it was ever there at all. You return to the settlement, your breath trembling as you exhale. Behind you, footsteps trail faintly in the snow, light, uneven, fading with each gust of wind. Not yours, not fully human, but unmistakably present. By dawn, they're always gone, swept away by the wind, erased like secrets the night refuses to confess. But the settlers know. They feel the presence lingering, circling their homes like a starving memory. Every dawn brings relief, but never certainty, never safety, never silence. And as the first light spills across the snow, thin as thread, you sense the winter watching, waiting for night to fall again, for the hungry spirits to rise once more, for their unfinished footsteps to return to the world of the living for another long, cold, unsettled night. You step into a different century now, the world older, harder, carved by wounds that never quite closed. The gentle unease of earlier gatherings is gone. In its place stands something sharper, colder, forged by iron and fear. The year is 1675. Winter creeps along the edges of the conflict like a silent witness. And King Philip's War, one of the deadliest per capita wars in North American history, has already stained the land with grief deeper than frost. You walk through a settlement forged from desperation, houses patched with scavenged timber, fields scorched, torn open by armies in reprisal. Every breeze seems to carry a memory of gunpowder, that acrid, metallic scent that clings to the lungs long after smoke clears. The colonists call for a Thanksgiving, but the word feels different now, thinner, harsher, severed from peace. Not a feast of harmony, a feast of victory. A feast declared from the pulpit after battles soaked in blood. You move through the settlement's main road, feeling the ghosts of gunfire echo faintly in the soil. Muskets lean beside doorways, their barrels still smudged with soot. Boot prints fill with patches of half-frozen mud. You can almost hear the thud of soldiers marching long after they've slept. Snow drifts in the air, catching the faint orange glow of fires rebuilding from ruin. The land feels exhausted, a body bruised, not yet healed, even as proclamations of gratitude ring across the colonies. You enter a meeting house where settlers gather for the official Thanksgiving. The wooden structure groans under the weight of too many bodies, their breath fogging the icy interior. The preacher stands at the front, voice loud and rhythmic, declaring the victory God's mercy, framing the devastation as divine necessity. He speaks of triumph, of deliverance, of enemies defeated. You watch the settlers bow their heads, but their posture isn't reverent. It's exhausted, eyes hollow, hands trembling slightly from cold, fear, memories, or all three. Some seem to cling to the preacher's words like a rope thrown into storm waters. Others look down at their feet, as if ashamed by the celebration, as if gratitude feels out of place beside so much fresh death. Outside, a pot of stew simmers over a fire. Its aroma is thin, watery, barely filling the air. There is food, but not abundance. Hard biscuits, salted meat browned nearly to leather, squash scraped from the last autumn stores. Nothing feels festive, nothing feels whole, and yet they feast. Because they are told to, because proclamations demanded it, because victory, no matter how hollow, must be acknowledged. You follow them to long tables set in the open cold. The wind bites at your skin. It tugs at loose strands of hair, trembles through the narrow gaps between wooden planks. The settlers pull cloaks tight, hands shaken as they reach for food that tastes of survival more than celebration. Laughter rises here and there, but it's thin, quick, strained, like a candle flickering in a draft. You sense the shadows around them, not visible, but unmistakable. Not ghosts of mere imagination, but the weight of everything unsaid. The villages burned, the retaliations launched, the hunger on both sides, the fear that never quite left their bones, the unanswered question of what victory even means. You listen as stories spill from their lips between cautious bites. One man speaks of a battle where the smoke was so thick the sun disappeared. Another describes the echo of cries in the forest, how they rang through the trees long after the fighting had ended, as if the land itself mourned. A woman recalls how the fields, once lush and orderly, now stand charred and lifeless, their soil bruised by fire and fear. But no one mentions the Wampanoag by name. No one speaks aloud of the people who once stood beside them in uneasy peace. The quiet absence of their voices feels louder than any sermon. A child tugs at his mother's sleeve, asking whether they must always fear the woods now. The mother's answer is soft, but her eyes flicker with the truth. The war has changed them, changed everything. You wander closer to the tree line, drawn by a faint sound carried on the wind. A low, rhythmic creaking, as though branches sway under invisible weight. The forest here remembers. It remembers every musket shot, every shout, every fleeing step, every fallen body buried quickly beneath leaves and winter mud. A thin fog snakes between the trunks, curling like the residue of gunpowder that refuses to settle. You feel the tension settle in your spine, the sense that eyes, ancient or recent, are watching. Some settlers claim they hear voices in these woods at night, soft murmurs, urgent whispers, the restless echoes of those uprooted by war. Others claim they hear nothing, but refuse to look too long in the direction of the forest after dusk. Fear has many languages. Silence is one of them. As darkness deepens, the feast dwindles to scraps. The settlers rise slowly, their bodies stiff from cold and weariness. A few offer half-hearted thanks aloud. A few clutch their children close. Some stare into the fire as if searching for answers in the embers. But gratitude today is not warmth. It is not unity. It is not abundance. It is obligation wrapped in the ashes of a war that feels far from over. You sense it, the shadows lingering behind the settlers as they retreat into their homes, the uneasy quiet settling on the tables they've abandoned, the forest leaning closer as if listening, waiting. The proclamations declare this day a blessing, but blessings born of battle can never settle cleanly. As the fires die down and the moon climbs through pale clouds, you feel something restless in the air, a low, wounded pulse that thrums through the ravaged fields and the empty spaces between the trees. This Thanksgiving is not an ending, not healing, not peace. It is a pause, brief, fragile, before the shadows deepen again. And as the last ember cracks beneath the cold, you sense the land exhale, its breath carrying the unfinished grief of both victor and vanquished. And something in the night whispers that this story is far from done. You feel time shift around you like a soft, slow tide, pulling you gently from the haunted winters of the past into a brighter century that preferred its stories polished rather than true. A century that sought comfort over memory, ease over accuracy, softness over the jagged edges of history. You step into a schoolroom first, a quiet room glowing with morning light, chalk bust floating like tiny stars in the air. Textbooks sit neatly on desks, their covers smooth, their pages smelling of fresh ink and forgetting. You run your fingers along the spines. The books open easily, too easily, their stories trimmed, their truths softened, their history stitched into simple lines meant for children's hands. Inside, you find illustrations of smiling settlers, tables overflowing with food, and Wampanoag figures drawn in gentle colors, their faces calm, their gestures warm, their presence a backdrop to the settlers' gratitude. A story with no hunger, no musket smoke, no fire in the forests, no cold, restless shadows pacing the edges of early winters. A story reworked to soothe, to reassure, to create a memory that never fully lived. You walk between the rows of desks, feeling the weight of what's missing, the silenced grief, the erased warnings, the careful omissions tucked neatly between the lines. Children recite dates, repeat phrases they barely understand, their voices soft and trusting. No one asks what was lost, what was taken, what was forgotten to make room for this version. You drift into living rooms next, warm spaces lit by the glow of lamps and ovens, the scent of turkey and cinnamon drifting like nostalgia. Families gather in circles, their laughter easy, their stories familiar. Someone retells the myth, the friendly feast, the peaceful gathering, the harmonious beginning. Their words float in the air like fluff, light and comforting, effortless. You watch children listen, wide-eyed, absorbing the story as though it is as solid as the table before them. You watch adults nod, some knowingly, some not caring to look deeper, some grateful for a tale that asks nothing difficult of them. The myth becomes a ritual, repeated year after year, told with the same cadence, the same coloring, the same simplicity. It slides into culture like a smooth stone dropped into a quiet pond. And yet, beneath the surface, ripples. You feel them. They spread outward in soft rings, disturbing the stillness just enough to catch your attention. You see them in footnotes, those small, timid admissions near the bottom of the page, hinting at conflict, at complexity, at truths too large to keep inside a paragraph. You see them in artist sketches, charcoal smudge lines revealing something darker behind the cheerful depictions. You hear them in academic whispers, in classrooms where older students begin to question, to peel back the glossy layers, to ask why the story feels incomplete. You notice them in museums, exhibits tucked in quiet corners, displaying artifacts that speak of struggle, of adaptation, of resistance. Stories that hum beneath glass cases, like voices waiting for the room to empty so they can finally speak. And you sense them in conversations, those late-night exchanges where someone finally says, "This doesn't feel like the whole story." The edges of the myth fray, slowly, gently, like fabric worn by too many hands. You step into a library, your footsteps soft on polished floors. Rows of books surround you, some old, some new, some carrying the truths the earlier textbooks hid beneath ink. You pull a volume from the shelf. Its cover is rough, its pages yellowed. Inside, you find accounts spoken in voices that were ignored for generations. Voices that recall hunger, mourning, resilience, memory. The truth doesn't shout. It doesn't accuse. It simply appears like dawn through the cracks. Quiet, inevitable, unstoppable. You close the book and hear echoes from the past. The long winter winds, the whispered prayers, the uneasy feasts, the battlefield proclamations. Echoes that have always been there, waiting for someone to notice. And now, in this century of bright kitchens and curated holiday rituals, you feel them rising again, like roots pushing upward through soft soil. Not demanding, not destroying, just reminding. The myth still stands, polished, comforting, familiar, but now it trembles at its edges. You watch as families pass platters across tables, children laugh, candles flicker. The warmth is real, the love is real, the gratitude is real. But beneath it all, beneath the clatter of plates and the gentle hum of conversation, a quieter truth breathes, steady, patient, unwilling to be erased again. A truth that asks softly, what lies beyond the story? And as you stand at the threshold between tradition and memory, the polished myth behind you and the untold truth before you, you feel those frayed edges trembling in your hands, threads connecting past to present, inviting you to listen a little closer than before. The story isn't ending, it's unraveling, slowly, softly, into something closer to what really was. You arrive at the shoreline long before the crowd gathers, drawn by the rhythmic pulse of the tide, a steady, ancient heartbeat that remembers far more than any holiday ever could. The morning is sharp and cold, its air tasting of salt and wind-churned spray. A November sky hangs low above you, gray as worn stone, quiet as withheld breath. You stand on the rocks of Coles Hill in Plymouth, a place where history curls beneath your feet like a buried root. The ground here holds memory. The wind carries echoes. And the ocean feels strangely alive, its waves pushing and pulling like a voice trying to rise through centuries of silence. You hear it first, the soft thrum of drums rolling across the shore, slow, steady, measured, as if calling someone back. Then the voices come, low, strong, woven with sorrow and resilience. Indigenous families gather along the water's edge, bundled against the cold, their faces lit by the rising sun. They are here not to feast, but to remember, to mourn, the national day of mourning, a counterweight to a myth polished too bright, a day carved from grief and truth. The drums vibrate through your chest, their rhythm sinking with the crash of waves. Chants rise into the air, some ancient, some new, all carrying stories that history books once tried to bury in footnotes or silence. You step closer, your feet crunching on damp sand, your breath caught somewhere between reverence and ache. The ocean wind slices across your skin, sharp but cleansing, as if urging you to listen without turning away. An elder begins to speak into the cold morning. His voice is steady, but there's an undercurrent, a tremor of memory, of wounds carried across generations. He speaks of ancestors who endured famine, war, displacement, of children taken, of language stolen, of promises made and broken and buried. He speaks of survival, not triumphant, but stubborn, resilient, unwilling to let the truth fade into convenient stories. His words drift upward, dark feathers rising into the pale sky, but the wind doesn't carry them far enough. They feel too heavy with history, too weighted with the grief of a people asked to forget. You sense how many times these truths were spoken and went unheard, brushed aside, ignored in favor of a narrative easier to swallow. Around you, the gathering grows. Some hold signs painted with names of tribes scattered or erased. Some wear regalia that moves like prayer in the wind. Some simply stand with heads lowered, breathing deeply, as if grounding themselves to land that remembers them even when governments do not. The sky shifts as the sun rises higher, casting pale gold across the water. The ocean glitters like a blade's edge. You feel the sharpness of truth in that reflection, a beauty that does not hide its wounds. A young woman steps forward. She speaks of healing, of reclaiming stories, of teaching children a history that holds both the joy of resilience and the ache of loss. Her voice trembles only once, when she mentions those who did not survive to see this day. Her tears don't fall. They cling instead, bright as sea spray caught in the wind. The chants begin again, deeper now, rising like a current from the earth itself. Their rhythm circles you, gentle and insistent, like hands on your shoulders guiding you closer to understanding. You close your eyes. Let the sound wash over you. Let the breath of the drum fill the space behind your ribs. Let the stories enter quietly, the way grief always does, not shouting, but whispering, insisting on being felt. You sense the presence of those who are not here in body, ancestors who walked these shores long before the first ship arrived. Their names carried in the chants, their spirits lingering in the cold gusts, their footprints hidden beneath layers of sand and years. Some say that on this day, the veil between past and present thins. You feel it now, in the shiver down your spine, in the prickle along your arms, in the way your breath mixes with the wind, as though becoming part of something older than language. The ceremony shifts toward silence, a long collective breath held by the crowd. You hear only the ocean, its endless exhale, its endless inhale. Waves crash with a rhythm that feels like mourning, then like resilience, then like both, woven inseparably together. You look around at the faces, young, old, determined, weary. Every expression shaped by memory. Every presence here an act of defiance. Every voice a thread poured back from the edges of erasure. This is not a holiday. It is a remembering, a return, a refusal to let the story end where the myth begins. As the sky begins to fade into late afternoon, the gathering slowly disperses. People wrap blankets around their shoulders, hold hands, walk together along the shoreline. But something lingers, an unfinished murmur in the air, a quiet promise that these stories will continue, with or without permission. You stay until the last drumbeat falls silent, its echoes swallowed by the sea. And as the sun slips behind the horizon, you watch their chants rise once more, soft, determined, carried upward into the darkening sky, where they mingle with the wind, unanswered, but no longer unheard. The ocean exhales one final cold breath across the sand, as if closing the moment gently, reminding you that memory, once awakened, does not sleep again. You enter the present day with a soft step, as if time itself might notice you crossing its threshold. The air hums differently here, not with wind or war or winter, but with engines, streetlights, apartment vents sighing warm air into the dusk. The city around you glows like a restless constellation. Cars whisper past. Neon signs stutter in the mist. Smoke from rooftop vents curls into the sky, carrying the warm, buttery scent of kitchens working overtime to prepare yet another holiday feast. It feels familiar, comforting, modern, and yet, beneath the pavement, beneath the glass towers, beneath the grocery store parking lots where families wheel turkeys and pies to the trunk of their cars, something older lies still, watching, waiting. You walk along a busy street where the sidewalk pavers drum beneath your feet. Every step echoes faintly. Not like footsteps on stone, more like footsteps over memory, over layers of earth that once held villages, ceremonial spaces, burial grounds that were never granted the silence they deserved. The land remembers, even when no one else does. You stop at a traffic light. Cars idle around you, their exhaust drifting upward like gray ghosts. For a moment, something else mingles with it. A faint whiff of cedar, sweetgrass, smoke from a fire that hasn't burned for centuries. A ghost scent. Brief, fragile, gone before your next breath. You look around. No one else notices. People stare at their phones, check their grocery lists, adjust the foil trays in their shopping bags. Everyone is moving toward celebration, toward abundance, toward ritual comfort. But beneath their feet, bones rest in soil that has been asked to forget too much. You find your way to a quiet corner of the city, a park that seems peaceful at first glance. Children play under bright trees. Dogs chase each other. A couple shares a blanket on a bench. But you can feel it, a pulse beneath the roots, a whisper in the earth, a memory tugging at the edges of the grass. This park was once something else. A village, a burial ground, a place where prayers rose like smoke long before the first road was carved through its center. You press your palm to the ground. The soil is cool, damp with fallen leaves, soft beneath the manicured green. And beneath that softness, history, stories, bones, layers of people whose names never made it into the textbooks. People whose descendants still whisper their stories in languages the land has never forgotten. You stand slowly, letting the city's noise swirl around you again. Sirens in the distance, a bus groaning to a stop. People laughing as they pass, their arms full of ingredients for tomorrow's feast. You follow them, drawn toward the glow of apartment windows, the warm silhouettes of families moving inside their homes. From one kitchen comes the sound of chopping vegetables. From another, the scent of roasting meat. From another, laughter rising like steam. You watch families lean over stoves, their faces bathed in golden light, their hands working through familiar rituals. Slicing, stirring, seasoning, tasting. Generations teaching one another the same recipes, never realizing that beneath the foundation of their homes, beneath the entire city grid, lie stories never honored, never included, never fed. You breathe in the aromas of the evening: thyme, garlic, pumpkin spice, bread warming in ovens behind frosted windows. And threaded through it, so faint you might think it imagined, the earthy scent of soil disturbed centuries ago. The resin of cedar used in ceremonies long before the first colonial feast. The gentle sweetness of herbs burned in remembrance. A reminder, a quiet one, but present. You walk further, past grocery stores closing up for the night, past dumpsters overflowing with boxes and trimmings, past restaurants where cooks finish their shifts before heading home to prepare their own family meals. Everyone is busy creating warmth. Everyone is busy creating abundance. But no one looks down. Beneath the city lights, beneath the asphalt and pipes and foundations, the earth holds everything it was forced to swallow. Villages displaced, graves interrupted, stories that never made it back to the surface. Not out of malice, not out of choice, but because modern life rarely asks what lies behind its comfort. You reach a hill overlooking the city. The skyline glows, yellow, white, blush orange. And for a moment, you feel the city breathing beneath you, alive with noise and motion, yet layered over a vast, unmapped quiet. You close your eyes, listen, feel the hum. The ground beneath your feet is not silent. It murmurs, it shifts, it remembers. Stories press upward like fragile shoots, seeking air, seeking acknowledgement, not to accuse, not to disrupt, but simply to exist again. You imagine the people inside their homes, laughing, eating, giving thanks, soft joy in their voices, warmth in their hands, a comfort they believe is complete. They do not know, or perhaps they do, somewhere deep inside, that their tables rest above histories unmarked, above names unspoken, above truths waiting for someone brave enough to reach down, brush aside the dust, and listen. The wind sweeps through the city, rustling leaves, carrying scents from 100 kitchens and whispers from 100 forgotten fields. You feel the threads tighten, past to present, memory to ritual, earth to living. And as you turn to leave the hill, you sense the land's quiet message settling into the night. Not angry, not bitter, just steady, unmoving, patient. A reminder that even the most modern feast rests on ancient ground. A reminder that beneath every table there are stories still breathing, unseen, unheard, unfinished. You step into the final chapter of this long, winding story as gently as a breath crossing a candle flame. Night has settled across the country now, a heavy, soft blanket stretching from coast to coast, draping itself over cities and towns that glow like scattered embers in the dark. Through windows you pass, you see living rooms lit by firelight, kitchens humming with the last warmth of the day, families leaning into each other as plates, still carrying traces of feast and fatigue, sit cooling on tables. There's a softness to it, a hush, a moment where time feels slowed, as though the day itself wants to linger before the world moves on. But something else lingers too, a quiet ache, a hum beneath the warmth, a knowing that the story told today is not the full one. That gratitude and grief have always walked side by side on this land. You move from house to house, unseen, like a drifting thought or a memory trying to find a place to rest. Inside one home, A child asks why Thanksgiving began. The adults offer the familiar answer, the friendly feast, the harvest celebration, the story that glitters softly like a safe nightlight. But the child frowns, sensing the edges don't quite fit. Their young mind catching the gaps that older minds learn not to look at. In another home, someone stares into a fire, their thoughts wandering somewhere between tradition and truth. They stir their drink slowly, trying to name the strange mixture of warmth and unease burning quietly in their chest. Across the country, people scroll through articles, posts, threads, conversations growing louder each year as more voices surface. Voices long muted, long set aside, long overshadowed by a myth told more for comfort than clarity. You walk between these moments, feeling each household's rhythm, joy in some, tension in others, a reflective silence in many. This holiday is a tapestry, woven from threads mismatched in color and texture. Gratitude, survival, erasure, remembrance, connection, discomfort, love, memory. None of them belong alone. None of them complete the story by themselves. A firecrackle crackles behind you, its flames rising and falling like the breath of a tired storyteller deciding which truth to speak next. The scent of wood smoke curls into the air, mixing with the last traces of sage, thyme, and whatever dessert still cools on the counter. You feel the ache beneath it all, an ache older than any recipe, any tradition, any blessing spoken before a meal. It is the ache of a country still deciding how to remember itself. You drift into a quiet neighborhood where porch lights glow softly in the cold. Some families still sit together at the table, their voices low, their discussions wandering toward deeper things. Others have fallen asleep on couches, their dreams fogged by warmth and half-understood history. A single candle burns in a window, its flame small but stubborn, illuminating a framed photograph beside it, an ancestor, long gone, whose story no longer fits the neat version taught in early classrooms. The candle flickers, as if the memory inside it wants to step forward, to be acknowledged, to be part of the day instead of the edges of it. You kneel beside the window, watching the flame waver, and you realize something simple, something quietly extraordinary. The story of Thanksgiving was never finished. Not in 1621, not in 1675, not in the centuries of retellings that reshaped it, not even today. It is a story still being written through every effort to speak truth, every return to remembrance, every question asked at a quiet dinner table when the dishes have been cleared and the night grows introspective. You move back into the street, the cold brushing your skin like fingertips guiding you gently onward. The moon hangs above, a patient witness, shining on rooftops that shelter both comfort and complexity. In the silence, you hear it, the unfinished heartbeat of this holiday, steady and unresolved, echoing through the land. A pulse asking, what do we carry forward? What do we honor? What do we mend? What do we relearn, unlearn, remember? The night answers only with stillness, not denial, not certainty, just space. A wide, quiet space where truth and myth both linger, waiting for those who will listen with gentleness. You walk toward the horizon, your shadow stretching long behind you, while kitchens dim, fires fade, and families unfurl into sleep. Yet the questions remain suspended in the air, soft and luminous, like stars that refuse to blink away. The feast has ended, but the story, like the land itself, breathes on, unsettled, unfinished, and calling gently like a voice just beyond hearing, into the next chapter of memory.